let's see what the current ladies know about homeless, jobless, and hungry. Anybody ever been there? Hungry, I get, right? Yeah, we've probably all been there before. But seriously, and by the way, before we start, I want to thank you, Kelsey, for taking Kelsey Smith taking over for Kristen today. Kristen's out of town, so
sure.
glad
Happy
that
to
you're
be
here.
Good.
Happy
to be here, and excited to talk about this topic because I feel like, you know, we see the homeless, on the side of the street. We know that God calls us to help the homeless, to help the jobless, to help the hungry. There are 300 verses. Did you all know that in the Bible about the poor and social justice? So God's telling us that we need to do something to help, this population. But how do we help? And that's something that I don't know. Have you all, found ways to help?
I don't know if you know this, but my dad was homeless. Yeah, at 14, he watched all of his family, and the last they saw, his brother scalded to death in a burning hot tub of water, and his mother passed away, and his dad. So at 14, he lived on the streets till he was 17 years old, and he ate what the railroad workers wouldn't eat. He'd go pick that up, and it was one man, a deacon at a church, that looked at his wife and he said, I believe that if I can get him to church, if God gets a hold of his life, he's going to do something with him. And that night, my dad went, and for the first time in his life, he got him there by telling him, we'll give you a bed and a meal. And he heard John 3:16, and it totally broke the curse off of our family. And so the power of one, the power of one person reaching out and being the hands and Jesus' feet of Christ, we can change a person's life.
So are you a little more sensitive to that homeless person on the side of the street?
Probably, because I know that's where I come from, and I realize that where they're at could just be momentarily. It's not a forever place. It's like we've all gone through tough times. I know Leigh Ann was just sharing today while we were getting dressed. It was so encouraging, and I hope you share some of it today, just what God has brought you from, coming down from nothing and watching God build you back up. It's so powerful because it's hope. It's hope to all of us that where we are is not a destination. We're on a journey, and we can make it, but we got to do some things about it, you know?
I love to say, there we go, but for the grace of God. We're all just one or two bad decisions away from a lot of destruction in our life, whether that, I think some people, I think a lot of the homelessness, I was the president of Second Harvest Food Bank and on the board for 8 years, and I really got to understand some of a lot of this, people have there's no choices, that they're making. It is often a medical issue that throws people into homelessness, families. And then there's also a lot of mental illness out there that has people on the streets. And so, but there we go. But for the grace of God, literally any of us could be in that position. And so we just have to be so willing to help. And so, looking for ways that we can make a difference, I think.
One of the cool things my husband Jeff and I did a couple months back, we went to a marriage conference that Kirk Cameron hosted at our partner Calvary's, and one of the gentlemen that was there that was singing actually works with Food for the Hungry, and he talked about how he sponsored a flat child, and and this little girl right here, her name is Justine Jade, and that night Jeff and I were both moved to sponsor a child, and we didn't know who we were going to get. But God brought this sweet little girl in our family's life. And, what they do is they partner with organizations to help feed the hungry all across the globe. And we thought this was such a cool way for our children to get to know this little girl. They write her. We've already received our first letter from her. And the last words in the sentence that she wrote were, "Thank you for choosing me." And that impacted our hearts. So it's a $35 a month commitment, which is nothing. That's just going out and having a meal together. And we're going to bond with this little girl in the Philippines and just be able to enhance her life through her education and through helping feed her and give her clean drinking water. So it's a blessing.
It's a Starbucks a week.
Exactly.
A Starbucks a day.
Wow.
It's funny, my husband was telling me a story yesterday. We were cleaning up the garage, and he was telling me, he said, I just really, because we love to give. I mean, we just love that, to watch people's lives when you just can just touch them in a little way. And he said, I want us to do more. And he was telling me a story about this guy that was up in a line like of a food place. And out of the blue, he just paid for the person behind him. And when the person went up there, he says, congratulations, it's your day. They just paid for all your stuff. And he's like, are you serious? Well, then he turned around and did it they said it went on for 2.5 hours.
Oh, my
I mean, I have chills even speaking it to you because it's the power, again, of one person. One person, if we will stand up and do what's right and take care of our neighbor, take care of our friends, just reach out right where they're hurting. Sometimes it's a meal. sometimes it is just a prayer, Barbara, like you said. Sometimes it might be taking your clothes that you don't wear anymore and saying, here, could this bless you? It's the simple things. Sometimes I think we try to make it too big, that it's got to be some big. It's the simple. That's
what I learned too, not too long ago. I was interviewing a couple of people who had been on the street, homeless, and I said, what's the best way that we can respond as the general public to you when you're on the street? And they said, you cannot believe how many people won't look us in the eye. They said, just look at us and smile if you can do that. You know how you are, you're at a stoplight, and there they come, they're walking, you're just kind of like looking the other way, or you don't do. Well, now I honestly do. I make a real intentional effort to look at that person in the eye, to smile at that person. I might mouth, God bless you. I might, like we did at Christmas time and had the homeless bags, I might give them the little bag that would just. Dignity, though, I think is so important to give that person respect. I know that we served at OURM as one of our favorite Orlando Union Rescue Mission. We're partners with them here at Good Life 45, and you might want to share some of what we did with them because they were so precious.
We did a glam night. We ladies love to glam it up. We were just talking about sparkles. So, and every girl likes to get sparkles and to get made up and to be on the stage and have a crown placed on her head. And so we were able to do that at the mission house. And just to see, their faces light up, that they were special, that they are children of God, and that they need to be treated like that. So I think there are a lot of ways, a lot of, partnerships that you can volunteer and serve and know that you're impacting one life at a time. I love that. I love that you said that because that's so important.
We've partnered with our Union Rescue Mission as well as Second Harvest Food Bank. I think it's a great thing to be able to partner with organizations like that because they have the ability to be able to minister to so many more people. But being able to touch that one person, that one life, and be able to really bless them. And like you said, sometimes it's the simplest of things. Barbara, so many times we ride by and we won't look at people that are on the corner. You met my granddaughter at Christmas, Zaria. Zaria is like my accountability partner. You can't ride by a homeless person, or I should just say someone standing on the street with Zaria in the car and think that you're going to ignore them. I keep change in my car and she wants to give them all of the change. Or Grandma, do you have some dollars? But that's that childlike faith and love that we all should have, because even the person that's homeless, they're human beings. They're children of God. And so we have to show love. That's how we win people into the kingdom. That's right. Is by just showing love. When we, as believers, ride by them and don't acknowledge them, what is the message we're sending?
And Kelsey, you mentioned something about 300 verses in the Bible. There's the Bible talks about the poor are always going to be with us, no matter what. So we need to be intentional in our families about finding ways to minister to the poor. It may be keeping a box of Cheez-Its in our car and just saying, I've done that before, and it wasn't keeping it. I was eating out of the Cheez-Its in my car, and I was like, do I really want to give up my Cheez-Its for this? Well, yes, I do, because I don't like giving money indiscriminately. I want my money to go where I know it's going to be used correctly. So I gave the box of Cheez-Its, but how that must speak volumes to our children and grandchildren that are in the car to see, Deborah, your spirit of generosity and concern for other people.
Zaria loved those bags that we put together.
That was fun.
It's awesome.
And when we left here, there was a gentleman up on the corner. I mean, we were barely out of the building. And she wanted to pull over and give this guy, and we were like in the middle of traffic. But it's just so exciting to see the generosity that she has and the love that she has towards other people. And it really encourages us to be, more giving. Of course, we do a lot of different things at our church, but personally, I'm challenged on a regular basis to be able to give to someone that is less fortunate than myself. And I know how important that is because I've been through quite a bit in my life as well, particularly as a single mom. And we talk about that quite a bit. But it's important, and not just a handout, but a hand up. And there's a big difference between a handout and a hand up. A hand up literally can help somebody to get to that next place in their life versus just a hand out that just sustains them right where they are. So,
what does the Bible have to say? Did y'all bring any verses?
I did. Luke 14 says, But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you. For you will be repaid at the resurrection of the just. It's so important to remember to invite people to your table that are less fortunate, and not be discriminative about it.
So hungry, jobless, homeless, all of those are areas that we need to be about helping and doing what we can do. Did you have a verse?
I do. I have a small one from Matthew, and it says, so the last will be first and the first will be last. I love what your sweet girl said to you all about, thank you for choosing me. Who are we? God chose us. God also chose the homeless person on the street. He's chosen all of us. So we need to that much more, be ready to give back and love on them. We're so blessed, and I'm so thankful for the gifts that we have. We need to know that those people are also daughters and sons of the King, and they also need that same kind of love.
And I think of that scripture, that when we've done it unto the least of these, we've done it unto him. And sometimes this is going to sound weird, but sometimes when we go and you maybe reach out and we do a little something for them, I think to myself, could that have been an angel when God was just seeing how my heart was? Was I tender towards him? Because these are, like you just said, it is his precious children. And a lot of them do have mental illness. And I have a friend that they're involved in a ministry in town where they go pick these people up off the streets, and they say the hardest thing to do is to get them in the car because they're so afraid, And so, I think that we need to it is all those things, but I think we should find places that are doing things and see how we can do to be a part, because they are trying to do things to help these people. It is a sad thing. It really is.
Well, and I think the face of homelessness looks a little different than it did many, many years ago. Now the homeless person could be really someone who has lived like all of us have lived.
Right.
And they've lost a job because they say if you don't have a certain amount of savings, and if you don't have, if you have a lot of debt, and that we're all 2 or 3 months away from being in dire straits. And so knowing that, as my children, I have a grandchild in public school, all of us either do or have had that to realize that these kids that are getting free lunches are needing free breakfasts. They might need free dinners. And what can we do? What can we do about these kids that our children and our grandchildren are in contact with every day? What have you all done?
I heard a great story the other day on the news where a lady found out her son came home. He was like, "Mama, can you please pack another lunch for my friend Billy or whoever?" And so she's like, "Absolutely," and because he would always want something from the boys' lunchbox, and so he kept bringing lunches. And finally, she went to the head of the school board and said, "Can I see, how many children are not getting meals?" And so she started making donations. Other parents caught wind of it, and the balance was completely paid off. And any child that needed to eat would not go hungry. And so I think it just takes our children are paying attention, like you said. Your granddaughter saw that. So if we come together, I think that we can fill that deficit and that need just right in our community.
A lot of the public schools, I don't know whether they still have them, but I know for a while they had the love pantries.
Yeah, they do.
And so they had these areas in their schools that were stocked with canned goods and items that the kids could take and take home. But even with that, it's difficult because
it's embarrassing for those children.
Exactly. They don't want the other children to necessarily know that they're in that situation.
I actually, at Lake Silver, where my son was for a while, we sent home food on the weekends. It was heavy bags, and these kids are having to lug it on a bus, and it's hard.
Well, I think we can do our part, but we also need, a big part of what we need to be doing is educating our children, our grandchildren, to see that kid who's carrying that heavy backpack of canned goods, and to just let them be aware that there are people out there just like all of us who are homeless, jobless, and hungry. So current ladies, thank you so much for what you're already doing and the way that you're educating your children and grandchildren. And grandchildren. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Deborah.
We're the old ladies.
That's right. I'll put myself in that category. I'm not putting you there.